the Miami Hurricanes are off to a blazing start, as we talked about their big haul last week. There are many ways to have success, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing, too, is you've got to look, and there's some pros and cons now of the transfer portal, right? I mean, we admit there's some grad transfers and some real transfers. When I say real, being, more than 1 or 2 seasons left type guys, because some grads get 2 years, most get 1, and then you get the regular transfer, which is now the waiver acquisitions, all those type things. Miami had 8 of them last year. Now you're talking about De'Aaron King and Quincy Roche among their transfers this year. And the other thing is, remember, they're guys that aren't done yet. Now, there are going to be some. Miami started their second semester a little later than others, which allows them a bigger window for the mid-year, if you will, Pack. But there are certain schools that are going to go deep on this thing. And Miami may be one that's going to play the active transfer market, to be honest.
Again, not being a recruiting guy, I'm probably going to speak out of turn here, but it would seem to me that if you're Miami, given your past, given where you're located, given the talent base around you, you should be able to recruit big-time players at the U.
Right, but, okay, let's take KJ Osborne, 1-year grad, right? De'Aaron King, 1-year grad. Quincy Roche, 1-year grad. The other thing that's been pointed out in some of this stuff is those guys are all countable to the 25 that you can bring in every year.
I know, but what I'm trying to say to you, Wes, I think there are certain programs that should be able to build their foundation based on recruiting as opposed to stopgaps, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you can't have success either way, because you can. In fact, you can do both. You can recruit well. Now, if all of a sudden maybe you missed out on a tight end or offensive lineman, there may be a guy out there that could come in for 1 year and be absolutely perfecto. But I think long term, I may step and be dead wrong on this, but I think long term in football, if you're going to be one of those programs, you've got to be able to recruit. I mean, if you pick up the transfer portal here and there in Miami, we pointed out 8 last year, and already a great start with King and Roche, who I think both those guys have great potential. But I think that if you're going to be a long-term player, big picture, you have got to be able to cast your net out, whether you're in South Beach, whether you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, or L.A., doesn't matter where you are. And you've got to be able to recruit at a ridiculous level to maintain that kind of stature in college football. I think that if you don't recruit well and you're spending so much time on the transfer portal, I think there's too many hits and misses on that part.
Well, the transfer portal is volatile in a lot of ways. But
and also include your own team.
You got no foundation if you cash in on 8 transfers and don't recruit high schools.
Exactly.
That's zero foundation.
That is exactly my point.
And football's a different deal than basketball, because in basketball, you can go get 3 one-and-dones or 4 one-and-dones, however you want to look at it, because it's a lot less inventory. You're still growing guys. I mean, I
wouldn't even compare it to sports, Wes.
Well, I don't think it's fair to, but people get caught up in the one-and-done in basketball, and they see the grad transfers movement in basketball. Look, I mean, the grad transfer of, let's say, Cam Johnson compared to Christian Keeling and Justin Pierce, let's just use Carolina. Different players, different fits. But you know what Carolina had? They had a consistent recruiting base that they had gone through when Cam Johnson showed up that made their team pretty good. Now Justin Pierce and Christian Keeling have shown up. They're not as experienced.
And Roy figured out a way to stay old in this day and age where, there's some programs that go extremely young, including the guy 8 miles down the road that's done a pretty good job with the one-and-done world. There's a lot of different ways to have success.
Right, but football, it's a whole different numbers game.
Totally right.
And the 25 is a huge deal because there's your cap on every class of which grads have to fall into. If you're Miami, I'm not so – now, De'Aaron King's a different story. Quincy Roche may be a different story. I would be comfortable if I'm – and I'm not – Manny Diaz knows this program. He's forgotten more about his classes than I do. To me, you've got enough, though, of a 50-mile radius where you're located that you can build from a high schools.
That's my point.
And how in the world – how valuable can the portal be? De'Aaron King, that'd be pretty valuable because he's a lightning rod. That guy can play, but that's a flash. You need to have another quarterback in there. And right now, Miami's been living in the, Nkosi Perry, Vanguard High School in Ocala comes in, Jaron Williams comes in. Oh, by the way, here's Tate Martell on the transfer. Tate Martell, did that really do anything? I mean, what's he doing? I mean, is that doing anything for you? No, because Derek King's going to be the guy.
Well, it did a year ago because everybody thought that, man, that guy, Tate Martell, he's the guy at Ohio State. He's coming to our play. I mean, I'm just saying, you never know until somebody gets on campus. I think I think you can overthink this process. If you get too invested on the transfer side in football, I think 2 or 3 are fine. But I think 8, 9, 10, 7, that's a big number. Sounds like Band-Aids to me.
Band-Aids for 6 and 7?
Well, I mean, that's what it turned out to be, a tourniquet. That's a problem.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.